Problem number 22. It's a very interesting problem and we must know as a scientist the answer of this question because it applies to our daily lives. This is actually about a young adult who is diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, that is insulin dependent diabetes. Now he has intrinsic ethical objections to genetic modification insulin, means that he did not accept genetic modification from the first point. So doctor has started recombinant human insulin and he has taken the first dose of recombinant human insulin. लेकिन जब उसने पढ़ा कि ये recombinant human insulin है, he went to the doctor and he asked the doctor that he want to start pig insulin as he has intrinsic objections to genetic modified insulin. Now the question is that how the physicians will cope with such a patients who want to shift themselves from human insulin to pig insulin. Now in such situations, physicians will try to explain the importance of recombinant human insulin over the pig insulin to the patient and its importances. Now keep in mind that the decision of choosing insulin ultimately falls upon the physician. Physician has to decide that which type of insulin is appropriate for the patient, and this is dependent on three things. One is the diagnosis of the type of diabetes, because diabetes is actually of two types, type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. Type 1 diabetic patients have to take insulin right from the first point of diagnosis. Then physician has to look at the expected outcomes of the clinical outputs. Then he has to check the affordability of the patient. Now no doubt human insulin is quite expensive, but it has better clinical outcomes as compared to other types of insulin. So insulin injections are required by type 1 diabetes or the young adult on which we are particularly focused on the problem. So he or she has to take insulin right from the time of diagnosis of type 1 diabetes. Now the purpose of giving insulin is to keep the level of glucose up to normal, which is known as normoglycemia. Otherwise, in diabetic patients without insulin, there is a condition known as hyperglycemia, that is the increased level of glucose. So in diabetic patients, we have to maintain the level of glucose up to normal. इसके अलावा इंसुलिन डायबिटिक पेशेंट्स को इसलिए भी दी जाती है कि जैसे ही ग्लूकोज लेवल नॉर्मल पे आएगा, there will be reduced risk of complications. One of them is long-term microvascular complication. इसके अलावा याद रखिए कि diabetes is a multifactorial disorder. It can affect our heart, kidneys or any other organ of the body. So it is better to maintain the glucose level up to normal in order to reduce the complications related with diabetes. Now today physicians have a choice of about 10 to 12 different types of insulin. Now such insulin preparations are available in the market. Now keep in mind, here we are comparing newer insulin from the old insulin. Newer insulins differ from old insulins in three aspects. First is the purity. Newer insulin has better purity, better homogeneity and higher price, while the older insulin are less pure, they are less homogenized, they are actually contaminated with high level of proteins, and no doubt they are cheaper than the newer insulin. Old insulins are actually a mixture of beef and pork insulin. So in Islamic countries they are totally prohibited. Then biosynthetic human insulin, keep in mind that it is produced by genetic engineering technique and it is basically a preferred choice of most of the insulin by the physicians. So in 1992 there is shortage of insulin, जिसकी वजह से पिग्स को ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा रेस करना शुरू कर दिया, लेकिन एक टाइम आया जहाँ के पिग्स की पॉपुलेशन की भी शॉर्टेज हो गई, जिसकी वजह से साइंटिस्ट ने सोचना शुरू कर दिया दैट देयर मस्ट बी एन ऑल्टरनेटिव टाइप ऑफ इंसुलिन अपार्ट फ्रॉम द पिग इंसुलिन, which was an urgent need of that time. So human biosynthetic insulin was prepared by recombinant DNA technology, making use of E. coli and of yeast. In the same way, newer insulins are available in which pork insulin is converted into human insulin by converting one amino acid by another. In simple words, by substituting amino acids. So in newer insulin in which pork insulin is converted into human insulin, it is possible by replacing alanine with threonine at position B30. Now all diabetic patients who receive insulin for a longer time period keep in mind that at some stage they develop antibodies to those insulin. So antigenicity is a greater issue, and it is related with the purity and the site of action of the type of insulin. And human recombinant insulin is better in purity and in site of action as well. Now human insulin is less contaminated as compared to the other insulins. Apart from this, another advantage of human recombinant insulin is that the duration of action of human insulin is shorter. It means that it is more effective as compared to the animal insulins. इसके अलावा अगर आप switch over करते रहें from one type of insulin to another, in such conditions it becomes very difficult to control the level of blood sugar. So there are three better suggestions that can be given by the physician to such patients, that human recombinant insulin has shorter time of action, means it is more effective. इसके अलावा अगर हम ह्यूमन इंसुलिन से पिग इंसुलिन की तरफ शिफ्ट करें तो हमारे लिए बहुत मुश्किल हो जाएगा कि हम ब्लड शुगर लेवल को कंट्रोल कर सकें. Then the other reasons is that in the market less pig insulins are available. It is only available for those patients who face problem with human insulin, जिनकी शुगर ह्यूमन इंसुलिन से कंट्रोल नहीं होती या किसी एलर्जी है ह्यूमन इंसुलिन की, then physicians recommend pig insulin to such patients.